It's a star-studded showdown for the Whitney Stakes. Let's take a first look. Hi, everyone. Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets, along with my colleague Kaylie Shapiro, and we are here with a first look at Saturday's Whitney Stakes. It's going to be a showdown between Fierceness, Sierra Leone, White Abarrio, so many more. Can't wait to dive into this one, but make sure to press that like and subscribe button here on NYRA Bets YouTube. Subscribing is entirely free of cost, just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, weekly programs, and so much more. Now, Kaylie, it's Whitney week. I'm wearing a slightest bit of pink, but we got to it's a crescendo. We got to build up to the pink.
Oh, okay.
But it's Whitney week, and I'm pretty excited because it's going to be a great card.
I'm pretty excited. I don't have my pink today, but
you're building up
Saturday.
Too. It's
Exactly.
You can't go nuts on Monday.
Exactly.
You gotta.
It's only Monday.
It's only Monday, exactly. So, and by the way, I don't have any other pink in the wardrobe. So anyway, but listen, let's talk about the 10-horse field drawn for the Whitney. But listen, there's a lot of other great races. Obviously, we got the Test, you got the Saratoga Special, you got the Saratoga Derby Invitational. A couple of horses coming from Europe, some Euro monsters coming over. Jessica Harrington's got one that's real nice, hot as hell, which might not be hot as hell actually in August up here in Saratoga, 78 degrees for Whitney Day. But yeah, I know, a little chilly, perhaps. I have to coordinate that with the old wardrobe. But when we talk about the Whitney, it really does come down to the two big guys, Fierceness and Sierra Leone. This is the matchup. We saw them go against each other as 3-year-olds up here at Saratoga in the Jim Dandy and again in the Travers, then in the Breeders' Cup Classic, very famously with Sierra Leone getting the advantage that day. Now they're back. They haven't faced each other since then. What's your level of excitement for this field and that particular showdown?
Well, Fierceness and Sierra Leone are definitely two of my favorites, and I love their rivalry. I love watching those two go back and forth. I'd say that was probably the highlight of last summer. So really excited to see these two meet again. And I guess we'll see if Sierra Leone has what it takes to close on these horses, because he's going to leave himself with a lot to do, as we know about Sierra Leone. But there is a good amount of speed signed on in the race, and I guess we'll have to wait and see after we know who's definitely confirmed to go. That'll probably change my opinion on Sierra Leone a little bit. For example, if Mindframe and Fierceness both go. But my gut instinct is that I'm just so excited to see Fierceness, and he looks really tough in here.
He does.
He's an amazing horse. I mean, you name them as your two main players, but we also have White Abarrio and here, who I'd say fits in probably in the group of your three main players.
I would
probably change it to, but it all comes down to trip.
It does.
With White Abarrio versus Fierceness, two horses that like to be forwardly placed, but they both have proved that they can rate as well.
They're both tactical. They don't need to be up on the lead. I think that's been one of the really beneficial things you've seen with the development of Fierceness in particular. But yeah, let's talk about this, because I think the elephant in the room is Mindframe and Fierceness both being entered here. And I'm going to say it right now. And I told you before we started recording, I was going to make a little bit of a challenge. I will put my net worth against Mike Rapoli's net worth if he runs both these horses on Saturday. Now, my net worth is about 0.001% of Mike Rapoli's net worth. So I have absolutely nothing to gain and not a whole lot to lose. But I have a lot to gain, I should say, and not much to lose. There's no way they run these two against each other. Jose Gomez is up on Mindframe. Come on. I have a hard time seeing that actually happening. And I think, Todd Pletcher's been very honest with regards to this and basically saying, listen, we're going to enter both of them. If something maybe goes wrong the week of with one of them, we still have the other one here. I get it. Okay. But that likely means that Mindframe is going to be scratched. Our morning line maker, David Aragona, made Mindframe 5-2. I think if he was intended on running, that makes a perfect sense. Personally, if I was David, I would have made him 99-1. There's no chance he's running. So, but then we would have heard from Mike all week about how he's made the best horse in America potentially 99-1. But I just don't see it happening. And then that does change the pace complexion quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why I'm really waiting and seeing about my true opinion on Sierra Leone to see who actually stays in the race. I definitely prefer Fierceness for Sierra Leone's chances in some type of way, because I'm not saying one's faster than the other, but Fierceness has been present in a lot of those trips that Sierra Leone has been able to work out.
That's true.
And that's a really big point. But I think at 1 1/8 miles, I view Fierceness as very much the horse to beat here. Obviously, he's your morning line favorite.
Yeah.
So you'd agree that the public does and Dave Aragona does as well. But my gut instinct, like you, is that they're probably going to send Fierceness here.
Yeah. And I think that, but as you said, even if we take Mindframe out of the equation and listen, if Mindframe runs, he's a very serious player in this race. That goes without saying. 5-2 morning line is indicative of that. Mindframe might be the better of the two between him and Fierceness. He's certainly the more versatile of the two, having won at all these different distances throughout his career, having won a couple of grade ones, the Stephen Foster and the Churchill Downs stakes this year. I mean, Mindframe's a great horse, so 100%. Let's not take anything away from him. But if he doesn't run, then you look at the pace scenario and Skippy Longstocking. Going to be interesting because Safi doesn't run him against White Abarrio very often. They ran against each other in the Pegasus, but that's another one where maybe Skippy goes to the Charlestown Classic, which is where he usually goes down in West Virginia every year to pick up a grade 2 win. So again, maybe that horse doesn't go. Well, if that horse doesn't go, well, now where do you go for speed? Well, certainly Mama's Gold, contrary thinking, a couple of horses like that have a lot of early speed and are going to be present up on the front end no matter what. So there's going to be a pace no matter who is entered in this sort of a race.
Definitely. And I don't remember the last time that Safi's had both of these horses entered.
I think it was the Pegasus World Cup.
And he did scratch one of them.
No, he ran both of them. He ran both of them at Pegasus.
So
you can, he's done it before, but it's the time of year where Skippy usually goes to the Charlestown Classic and White Abarrio's usually up here. So it's interesting that they're both entered.
I do wonder, though, if we put both in here. I think a lot of this is going to come down to trainer tactics as well, obviously.
I think you're right.
I mean, Chad Brown has 2 entries. That's a big point. He entered contrary thinking. I mean, I feel like the world has been crying out for a rabbit for Sierra Leone. Certainly I have. I like shop around for them in my spare time as if I'm going to.
He really does.
So definitely that's exciting to see that he did enter another horse and hopefully can at least ensure that the pace stays hot up front for Sierra Leone. You know, that horse can go out. He's not fast enough to be up on the lead, but if he can apply some pressure to these horses that then apply pressure to maybe Fierceness, who's probably the fastest horse in this race, that could soften, you know, keep things hot up front for Sierra Leone for sure. But Safi having 2 entries is also interesting because you do wonder if he has one in there for the other reason as well. Skippy has a lot of speed and can help do the same thing.
And White Abarrio can come from off the pace. That's not a problem. That horse is best at 1 1/8 too. That White Abarrio is very good at that distance. He put on a show 2 years ago up here when he drew off and won that Whitney by 6 1/4 lengths, I want to say. I mean, he blew the field out 2 years ago up here. That was when he was in absolutely great form, and he's gone back to that form. I draw a line through both the Met Mile for both Fierceness and White Abarrio because of the shoot and because of the track conditions that day. I'm willing to forgive both of those horses for those efforts. And you go back and look at everything else those two have done, they're both in rock solid form right now.
100%. And knowing that that wasn't Fierceness's ideal setup that day during the Met Mile makes it even more impressive that the horse didn't even run that poorly.
No, he ran very well and ran second, earned 100 plus buyer speed figure. And no, very, very good effort. And now here's the big thing with Fierceness. I think when I first looked at the Whitney, you know, obviously you're looking at the names that are getting drawn. But for me, and we've talked about this before, the post position is so important for Fierceness. I didn't like him in the Met Mile because he was in that inside coming out of the Wilson chute. I just don't like that spot for him, especially when there's a lot of speed to his outside, which there was. Now he's up to the outside. Post time's got 0 speed. So he is the controlling speed outside. And what I think they can do and what Johnny Velasquez can do with this horse, play the break. And the key with Fierceness is never that he needs to be on the lead. He needs to be wide and outside of horses. And they did it in the Travers last year. I remember us watching it. He hung that horse so wide around both turns. They're willing to give up distance just to keep that horse in the clear because that's when he runs his best.
And that was 1 1/4.
Exactly. Now 1 1/8.
Yeah.
Come on. And so I think he drew so well in this race.
He definitely won the post draw 100%.
Yes.
That's what makes him even more dangerous is seeing obviously how he drew here. I think that he's going to be the toughest horse to get around here. Yeah. I mean, he's probably going to be my pick at the end of the day. Fierceness is, obviously an amazing horse, as we've named a lot of his achievements, but also, like you said, has an advantage with the way he drew in here. And definitely, I mean, Highland Falls is another one that I'm taking another look at first, seeing him draw in. I was like, maybe this horse is in over his head a little bit, off second off the bench, going in against this group. But when you think about it, the horse ran a really good race first off the bench in an optional claiming, got a 98 Beyer speed figure. Last year, he ran a 104 in the Jockey Cup Gold Cup. So that horse is one that can track and one that is probably going to be, I mean, it's kind of interesting because number one is Mindframe, who we just talked about, and then Skippy Longstocking is the 2. Highland Falls is the 3. What happens if those two, this horse draws the rail, but right now he doesn't,
Right now,
Skippy's probably going to go.
I imagine Skippy's going to go, and it's going to be interesting to see.
The Highland Falls could be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should say that Skippy, unlike Mindframe and Fierceness, Skippy and White Abarrio are 2 separate ownership groups. So it's not the same sort of competing interest that you would have with Mindframe and with Fierceness. Highland Falls, bred and owned by a little corporation I like to call Godolphin, little mom and pop operation that just wins everything. I find it very interesting that this horse comes off from a real long layoff. Hadn't run from the Breeders' Cup Classic till that optional claimer at Belmont at Aqueduct in June. They run race, and they go to the Whitney. They go straight to the grade 1. Brad Cox, Louis Saez. That's an aggressive move.
That is an aggressive
and that might tell you what they think of this horse. This has always been a horse that Cox, I think, feels is one of his best that he has by the way he was campaigned. This horse always struck me as a very interesting runner because he was campaigned. He debuted so late as a 3-year-old, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere shows up in the Santa Anita handicap as a grade 1, and then goes to the Oaklawn handicap, runs a second to Skippy. That day, Skippy ran a hole in the wind that day, and nobody could have beaten Skippy that day. Then goes and wins the Blame, finishes second in the Monmouth Cup, which was a terrible ride that day, and then gets Pratt aboard and wins the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Wasn't good enough in the Breeders' Cup Classic. But again, I just feel like this is a horse at Curlin, late developing maybe a little bit, and just I like this horse a lot. 8-1. He's going to be included underneath on my tickets, I think. Definitely. For sure.
Yeah. I agree. And you've also look at the Breeders' Cup Classic, and I mean, we all know the pace was pretty suicidal that day.
It was. Some horses took to it.
Yeah. Some, like you said, some horses take to it, some horses don't.
Yeah.
And you could see he went to the bench after that. They gave him some time, and he could have came back. He could be coming back as better this year as a 5-year-old.
He could.
First off the bench, that performance is his only one as a 5-year-old.
Right.
You could definitely consider that to be a possibility. And I know he'll be in definitely tries and supers for me.
Absolutely. But let's talk a little bit more about Sierra Leone. 2-1 on the morning line, second choice. He's always been the favorite when he's at Saratoga. And so it'll be interesting to see because David made Fierceness the favorite. And I think rightfully so, but man, the public loves betting Sierra Leone. They can't get enough of this horse. Even when he kind of bites them in their butt. And so the big question with him is I think he's going to get the pace. For me, I always say it's about sub 111. If he gets sub 111 to the 6 furlong mark, I think that's when he runs his best. If they run 111 or slower, forget about it. He's not going to be able to track him down because he needs them to come back to him as much as he gains up on them. But I think you could get sub 111 fractions here for sure with the way this race is playing out. And the other thing you have to consider, though, Saratoga, 0-3.
Definitely, yeah. And he's lost to Fierceness in Saratoga.
And a little filly called Torpedo Anna.
For sure.
So, lost to her, too.
And you'd imagine, it all comes down to Fierceness for Sierra Leone. That's the only horse that this horse has to get by. I don't view the other ones as much of a challenge. Mindframe's not going to end up in here likely. But that's why, I mean, Fierceness, it all matters. The trip Fierceness works out, the fractions he works out, and the setup he gets. That determines Sierra Leone's chances, in my opinion. And obviously the pace, but we know that it looks like there's going to be a pretty fast pace on paper. If not, then at least honest. And maybe the horse actually, he's working pretty well here at Saratoga as well. pretty sure he's working over the main track.
He is working over the main track.
So that definitely is something you like to see.
Yeah.
Whether the horse likes Saratoga or not and is winless at Saratoga or not, he's run really good races at Saratoga.
He has. He's never run a bad race at Saratoga. He ran third in the Belmont up here. He ran second in the Jim Dandy and third in the Travers. His buyer speed figures those 3 days were 99, 102, 109.
Yeah.
He's not running bad up here by any stretch. You know, coming off a second in the Stephen Foster, where Mindframe got the better trip and ultimately, you know, was second best that day, but was closing. And I think the positives, if you look at Sierra Leone, is A, the pace. B, it does seem as if they figured out some of his quirks from his 3-year-old campaign. The lugging in has seemed to stop quite as much. He's not weaving around in the lane quite as much as he used to be. So those are good things to see. But now this is also a larger field. What's interesting is that Stephen Foster was a short field, 6 horses. This is a bigger field. Now, maybe Mindframe scratches fine, so it's down to 9. But again, 9 horses, he's probably going to be 8th or 9th. And it's about how strung out you get and how much do you spot fierceness. Do you spot him 6 lengths? Do you spot him 7 lengths? I feel like we're having the same conversation we have with sovereignty and journalism.
Yeah.
How many lengths can you spot a horse that good and make up on it?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, looking at his past performances, you can see that he actually runs his best races in larger fields.
He does, because he usually gets more pace.
I never really even, and that makes a ton of sense. But just, I mean, if you're going to take Sierra Leone, I'd imagine this is probably the time to take him. I haven't made my decision yet. It's going to be one of the 2 of them, Fierceness or Sierra Leone. But your safest way to bet this race is to have the 2 of those on top, because they are they're each other's worst enemies.
Yes. I mean, they have to keep each other in mind at all times. And you saw that even last year with Johnny. I think it was in the Jim Dandy when Johnny Velasquez intentionally floated Fierceness out coming for home because he assumed Fierceness always went wide. And Johnny kind of floated Fierceness out, assuming Sierra Leone would go wide. And Sierra Leone actually dove to the inside, and Johnny realized it and then kind of brought Fierceness back down. Really interesting. So those 2 always are looking at each other in a lot of ways. So going to be a lot of fun. A horse that I would be remiss if I didn't mention is the other Maryland bred in this race. Mindframe, of course, is a Maryland bred, but so is Post Time. This is a horse that was $85,000. That's won $1.3 million on the track. Has never missed a board in his career and finished 3rd in this race last year to Arthur's Ride and Crouppy, ran a 105 buyer. He's a late running horse that's going to get a lot of pace to run at. And again, if you're looking for a horse to pick up pieces, a horse to finish out a trifecta, again, you could do a lot worse than Post Time. He's a horse that doesn't run bad races just by the fact he's never missed the board in his career. 11 for 18 winning. He has never gotten that breakthrough win, really. He's gotten a couple of grade 2s, with the Carter and things like that, but never really gotten that breakthrough victory. But a horse that it's hard to just toss that horse from your vertical wagers in particular.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you want to use them in a super, that's not a bad idea whatsoever. You look at the horse's career. I mean, he's never finished off the board, as you say, but I think he also loves a muddy track as well. If you look at his past performances, I mean, those races up at Saratoga that were 1.8 miles, the Whitney last year. That horse finished 3rd. But I mean,
over a muddy sealed track.
Yes, but and definitely look back to another one of his big figures, his first 3-digit figures over a sloppy sealed track as well. This is a horse that I always try to use. I mean, in order for me to include him in tries and supers, I'd probably have to get like 18, 20 to 1 on him.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're at that. I think he's a horse that's I hear you. Do we want to talk about contrary thinking and the job that Dylan Davis has? Because I think he only has one job, which is to quarter horse it out of the gate and try to make this horse go as fast as humanly possible. This was a horse that had been owned by Seth Klarovich and Seth Klarman, I should say, and Klarovich, was purchased by Peter Brandt. Peter Brandt, of course, part owner of Sierra Leone. So there's a lot of, tactics here now in terms of having a rabbit for Sierra Leone in this race.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that makes me even more inclined. It's hard to pick against Sierra Leone. I lost all this money on him last year, and then he paid me back in the Breeders' Cup Classic at 701. Now he has a rabbit for the first time ever. I mean, that makes him even more attractive. Hopefully this horse is fast enough that he can apply pressure to whoever's up on the lead. I think that's what this horse's job is. It's not necessarily to go out and set fractions for Sierra, but it's to pressure whoever's up front.
Whether it's Mama's Gold, whether it's Skippy, whoever it is. Yeah, make sure that it's not somebody up on the lead by themselves. To toy
with them. That's why this horse is here, and
100%
smart move.
No, it is a smart move, and I think it's going to be interesting because if a horse like Skippy, obviously it runs here, it's a horse that has very good early speed. Though Skippy can rate, doesn't need to get to the lead. I mean, that horse can sit off the pace too. Won the Gold Cup sitting off the pace. Won the Challenger sitting off the pace. So doesn't need to go gate to wire by any stretch. But if we assume Mindframe scratches, Skippy's on the rail, a little bit more imperative that you 100%. That you send. At the very least, get a pocket trip if you think Mama's Gold is going to also quarter horse it out of there. That's fine. But it is one of those races, and we've been following New York racing long enough to know sometimes when it looks like there's no speed on paper, suddenly a pace duel breaks out. And when it looks like there's a hot pace, suddenly everybody looks at the past performances and goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody, let's take it easy. And suddenly there's one horse up on the lead. You go, what the hell happened? There were supposed to be 6 horses up on the lead. So, it's a jockey's race sometimes too. You talked about trainer intent, jockey intent. It's going to be very fascinating.
It's going to be a fascinating race. And definitely you can see, I mean, with the trainers that have 2 horses in here, that it is going to come down to what you think the tactics might be at hand that are going to play out in the Whitney. For me, I think that we will get a fast pace. I mean, at least an honest one. But I think that because of the fact that there are horses to toy with the other ones up front. And that's, I mean, if they have to run a little bit faster, that's going to set it up for a closer. But Fierceness to me is a very, very tough horse. The fact that this race is at 1 1/8 also, obviously I love that for him. He draws well. I mean, that horse is going to be really tough to beat. It's Fierceness.
It is.
It's going to be these 2 big boys, Fierceness and Sierra Leone, 1-2. That's the way I see it.
I think it's going to be tough. I will be interested to see the price you end up getting on White Abarrio come post time. Because that could end up being a really interesting value. Potentially.
100%.
Because if Sierra Leone and Fierceness just take all the money, suddenly a horse like White Abarrio, does White Abarrio float up to 6-1? 7-1? I mean, that would be interesting then to have a horse that was a Whitney winner, knows how to run over this track, knows how to run this distance, is going to sit probably a pretty similar trip to Fierceness. I don't know. That horse is interesting. That horse is dangerous. That 100%. Horse could screw up a lot of people's tickets, I think. Because everybody's going to be focused on the big 2, and I get it.
You're right.
But as you even said, it's really the big 3.
It is the big 3,
and because you got to give White Abarrio that sort of credit.
I mean,
he's multiple-time Grade 1 winner. Yes. And he's a serious horse.
When he gets his trip, he's just as good as those 2.
He absolutely is, and he should get his trip
on any regular day.
Yeah,
I think that he's 3rd on that list. Yeah. But
on his best day,
he works out a trip
and works out his trip,
he's just as dangerous.
Absolutely is. Absolutely. Now. We didn't talk much about Disarm. Just to be clear, Disarm is cross-entered in a race the day before, might not end up running. Disarm's a horse that I've always had a very conflicted relationship with. Mostly I just don't like him. But I like the horse. He's a very nice animal.
Lost money like me.
But I just I've never lost money on Disarm. I've had to hear everybody on Twitter tell me how Disarm's going to win the freaking Breeders' Cup Classic sometime. And they're out of their minds. People were going nuts over Disarm because he ran one decent second place effort of the Travers 2 years ago. Stop it. So the horse is fine, but nothing much more than that. But yeah, like I said, I don't really.
Second to Arcangelo.
He did finish second to Arcangelo. Yeah. I did lose money that day because for the first time in my life I bet on Forte, and then he ended up not running a dime. Mike owes me money for that too. He might owe me a lot of money if he doesn't run Mindframe if he watches this video. But listen, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. We're going to have more content up here on the NYRA Bets YouTube channel for not just the Whitney, but all the races that we have for that Whitney day. Some great maiden special weight races. Always really fun to see who debuts on days like that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, it's crazy. I feel like we're already about, I think, a month in to the summer, just about.
Basically
halfway through. But when the Jim Dandy day came, I was like, okay, this is the start. because
That's
I mean,
exactly what
it's
yeah.
strange. I mean, the racing here is great 24/7, but Jim Dandy Day comes and then it's like boom, 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 Whitney, Travers, this and that.
Sword
I mean,
dancer.
it's the
so many
most
great races.
exciting time, and you know the summer's really starting when you see Fierceness and Sierra Leone in a race and these great rivalries that we'll get to see throughout the summer. So
You do.
it'll be so much fun.
No, we just saw obviously Sovereignty put on a show. We saw Baeza give a hell of an effort in the Jim Dandy. So listen, those two are probably going to be running against these guys a little bit later this year, potentially in the Breeders' Cup Classic. That's going to be a lot of fun. Listen, there's so much good racing right now. We haven't even mentioned the great turf racing that's going on. Like I said, the Saratoga Derby Invitational is just an absolute banger of race. The 4-star Dave Johannes coming in for Phil D'Amato from California. Get the hell out of here. That's going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to be so excited for that. You're going to be dragging me off the turf course. I'm so excited to see that horse come east and run. And yeah, that's just going to be such a fun day. No Carl Spackler anymore. Very sad.
That is
sad. We've still a lot of great horses running. Yeah,
love that horse.
He's running over in Europe, I think, this week, actually. And like Essex. Exciting. Yeah, that is exciting. We might cover that too. You never know. But listen, appreciate everybody tuning in. Whitney's going to be a great day. We're going to have a lot of content for you here on NYRA Bets, so make sure to press that like and subscribe button today. Kaylie, any final words before we kind of sign off here?
Excited to come back with our picks later on in the week and a full in-depth analysis of maybe the dynamics more in-depth in our picks. I need to take a deeper look. This is one of the races I kind of want to sit, and look at for a few hours. It's that layered.
I agree with you. It's both simple and complex all at the same time. Yes, I would absolutely agree. I'm also just going to be hanging out outside of Mindframe's stall. I'm just going to be just waiting for if I can hear any whispers about what's going to happen. What are they going to do?
He might tell you secrets.
He might tell me secrets. I don't know. Bring him some carrot spice. See if he likes those. Beats me. Maybe some peppermints. I'll bribe the horse. Not above that. And so, listen, we're going to have a lot of fun here on the channel. So, like I said, press that like and subscribe button today. For Kaylie Shapiro, my name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and prosperous day at the races. And reminding you, friends, it's now post time.